Hello and welcome to the webinar Boost Your E-commerce Revenue, Best Practices to Increase Traffic and Conversions with Long-Tail SEO and Personalization. My name is Alicia Medina. I'm Partnership Manager at Vervolia, and I'm very happy to welcome you today. Before we start, a few rules for engagement. I would like to remind you that this webinar will be recorded and shared right after the session. If you have any questions, you can just write them on the Q&A section in this platform, and our speakers will make sure to answer to all those questions right after the two panels that we have planned for today. And indeed, today is a very special webinar because we have truly the pleasure of listening to two panels where e-commerce experts, so actual e-commerce practitioners, will share their experience. The first panel will be on traffic acquisition with long-tail SEO, led by Tonsi Dunlop, SEO manager at Ripley Chile, and Pierre-Olivier Danhave, CEO at Vervolia. And the second panel will be on conversion rate optimization and led by Adrian Goller, e-commerce analyst at ETERNA Mora, and Ana Catarina Knar, CCO at EMEA at Turbo. Welcome, Tonsi, Ana Catarina, Adrian, and Pierre-Olivier, and welcome to our audience. Very excited to have you today. So let's move on to our very first panel on traffic acquisition with long-tail SEO. As mentioned, our speakers will be Tonsi Dunlop and Pierre-Olivier Danhave. Tonsi Dunlop is a literature graduate with a love for programming and marketing. During her 10-year career in marketing, she found her passion for search engine optimization and has developed SEO strategies for a number of different clients and organizations, both in retail, insurance, education, and much more. Tonsi also likes dogs, of course, who doesn't, reading, traveling, and weightlifting. Furthermore, Pierre-Olivier Danhave has always been active in the startup and scale-up scene with various roles as founder, CEO, CTO, including on InmoWeb, which is one of the leading real estate portals here in Europe. He's currently CEO and one of the founders at Vervolia, a booming European startup helping e-commerce increase their traffic with artificial intelligence. So before we jump right into the topic of our first panel, I would like to set the stage and have a little bit more context on traffic acquisition with long-tail SEO. Pierre-Olivier, why don't you briefly give us some context on traffic acquisition and what it consists of with long-tail SEO?
Thank you, Alicia, for the introduction. Welcome, everyone. We'll be talking about long-tail SEO, especially for e-commerce today. Obviously, that's our specialty at Vervolia, and we are super happy to host one of our customers that you will meet a bit later, Tansi. So first of all, the idea is to talk about long-tail SEO for e-commerce. So we'll be talking about transactional SEO queries. So here we are really looking to target keywords in SEO that are focused on what people want to buy. So like Adidas blue shoes, for example, that's a classic example, but not queries like how to choose a barbecue in 2023. So we'll be really talking about queries that are really focused on products, not on the context there. So that's the first thing. I don't want to insult anyone by redefining what long tail and top tail is, but still I like to put my own definition because we all have different things. Top tail keyword in this context will be women's shoes. It's a keyword that has lots of search. Many people are looking for that, but not many combinations because you have men's shoes, women's shoes, kids' shoes, and that's it. On the other side, you have long tail keywords, which are the opposite. So Adidas blue shoes for women, size 42. This kind of thing. Of course, many combinations of these keywords, but very few search per combination itself. So it means that there's also a lot of volume, but for being able to catch all this volume, you need to be present on many keywords. Top tail is easy to cover with your categories. Having in your tree, if you're selling shoes, you will have women's shoes. You'll have a category for that. But the competition is super high. Everybody wants to be number one on women's shoes. On the other side, long tail is the opposite. You have low competition because not many people will optimize a page for every single long tail keyword, but it's much more difficult to create categories or pages to target all these tens of thousands of keywords in the end. So just about the definition of long tail SEO that we'll cover today. And what's the opportunity there? Because that's what matters in the end. Typically, by addressing long tail SEO combinations, you can get easily 15 to 30% extra traffic. That's typically what is left on the table. So targeting long tail keywords, if you already have some good SEO on your categories, you can add 15 to 30% very, very easily by targeting long tail keywords. And obviously, what do we do at Verbolia? Bah, we do that. We help you identify the opportunities. We have a technology that does that automatically. And then for each opportunity, each long tail keyword, in one click, you can create a page that will actually be optimized to rank as high as possible on that query. And I have the pleasure to have Tonsi with us today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that context, Pierre-Olivier. Indeed, I believe that Tonsi will have a lot of insights of her own experience with Ripley and Vervolia. So, yeah, the floor is yours. Tonsi, you're welcome to join.
Hi, thank you for having me here. I'm very happy to be here. Um,
Hi, Tonsi.
Hi,
Good to see you.
thank you.
Maybe first question. We'll do it a bit like this. I will ask questions, you will answer, and then we'll see how this
Sure.
goes. Maybe first thing, can you explain what Ripley does? So you're working for Ripley,
Yes.
what they do, and give a brief introduction of your business. Because in Europe, Ripley is not very famous, but you will see that it's actually a very, very big player.
Yes. Ripley is a company from Chile in Latin America, and we're also present in Peru. And it is one of the top three retailers in the country. It really represents like a huge part of the stage of the industry. Like we have over 20 million visits per month in total, and we represent a $6 billion industry. So we're talking about a very big retailer which has like a lot of different products from clothing to shoes to household items. We also have a supermarket area, so we have like a very broad um, as spectrum of products that we have to position on our e-commerce.
Okay, so really, really big company in
Yes.
Europe. You can compare it probably to bol.com because with 20 million visits a month, it's pretty big player.
Yeah.
All right. And about you, how did you enter the world of SEO and e-commerce more specifically?
Well, it was a long ride, but it's been really fun because I am originally a literature graduate. I did not see myself on this path, but I started taking an interest in marketing early in my career. I've been doing this for about 10 years, and I was working in a advertising agency, and that's when I found SEO through. I remember it was like a YouTube campaign, and we wanted to optimize some YouTube videos. So right now, I've been doing this for almost 6 years, and it's been like a very interesting um, topic because we've learned a lot, and sometimes Google is can be super unpredictable, but it's really fun to keep up with all the updates and testing and seeing how fast things can change.
All right. So you did not choose SEO; it's SEO who chose you.
It chose me, yeah.
All right. And so about SEO specifically at Ripley. So what are your main goals as an SEO manager there?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say my goals are super creative. They're mostly about revenue and increasing revenue and visits and conversion. We all know that organic traffic is the kind of traffic that brings um, users who already know what they want. So they tend to convert a lot more, especially in long tail keywords, as you described before. So mostly I'm looking to increase revenue, increase visits, and maintain a good conversion rate. And also we are already, I mean, we're always tackling new challenges in the e-commerce industry because it's changing. So we have to stay on top of the game. And another goal we have is to keep the organic channel as the most relevant in the mix, in our traffic mix.
Of course. And what does it mean for such a huge business? So 20 million visits a month. The traffic mix for you, what's the share of SEO in that mix?
It's usually from 30 to 36%. It varies, but that's what we're seeing each month. So it in visits it's 30 to 33%, but in revenue it takes up to 45%. So it's a lot more, and that's because it has a really good conversion rate.
Yeah.
But right now, it's the most significant traffic channel we have. And we have to keep it relevant because it's very cost effective.
Yeah. So it's not a myth. SEO is interesting.
Yes,
We can make money with SEO. But
yes.
so SEO is so it's a broad area, of course. What are the most important SEO elements that Ripley focuses on, and where is long tail SEO in that list? Because obviously that's what we want to know.
Um, Mostly, we want to keep our largest categories and top tail keywords like super updated and optimized as much as we can, because that's where a lot of the traffic comes. And before we were working with Verbolia, maybe we didn't have such a specific focus on long tail keywords, which has changed after we started working with you guys. So we also want to keep our categories with the big keywords always updated, and also we were focusing on non-branded traffic because that's one of the main challenges.
Yeah. And but were you aware of the opportunity that was being missed on the long tail already?
Yes, we were aware, but it was very hard to tackle because, as you said, when you were speaking about long tail keywords, it's that it has to be done in great volumes, especially in a website like ours, which has like thousands and thousands of pages. So it has to be done in great volumes to see like a big difference, since the search volumes are so low. Um, so it was a great challenge. We were aware of it, but it was very hard to see a way of managing it.
Yeah. Okay. And if we look back, so before Ripley and Verbolia's collaboration, how were you tackling long tail SEO? Can you guide us through that process?
Sure, we were using a really much more manual approach. We were optimizing things like a lot slower. We did not have any um, uh, automatized platform to do it. Implementation was very slow, especially when creating new categories and catalogs, because for categories and catalogs, we were always choosing, this top tail keywords, which are much larger in volume and much more competitive. But it was really hard to tackle the long tail SEO. Um, so we were like going through a process of keyword research, of categorization and creation of new content and implementation, but it was taking us a lot of time before we worked with Verbolia.
Yeah. So the Yeah, and so very manual approach.
Yes,
What were the main challenges in
absolutely.
that approach? I mean, you covered it a bit, but
Yeah, as I already mentioned, long tail keywords must be optimized in great volumes to have a significant impact in our business, since the industry and our website is so large and competitive. And the most challenging thing was managing the sheer volume of long tail keywords we needed to make a difference. And it was very hard because we couldn't do it at the speed, at the rate it was needed, because the industry is very competitive. We have some big players who also have their own tactics, and these big competitors we have, it's really tough to stay on top of the game. So the main challenge was the speed of implementation mostly.
yeah.
And yeah, and gathering insights, that was also hard because of the volume of long tail keywords we were managing.
Okay. And now that you're actively implementing your long tail SEO strategy and using Verbolia for that, what value has Ripley seen from using our technology in terms of traffic
Um,
increase, revenue conversion? I mean, all of this.
we've seen like a lot of benefits. We're very surprised and pleasantly surprised with Verbally, actually, because you provide a great service. We've seen a 20% increase in traffic, like in non-branded keywords, which was one of our goals. We're also aware that Verbolia catalogs position really quickly and in good rankings. Um, there's a notion that SEO changes are slow, but we've seen that it's not the case with Verbolia, because we make changes in bulk, or we can position automatically position like a lot of new catalogs and keywords, and that change is done super quickly, and Google indexes those changes really quickly too. So we can move like in a very agile way.
Yeah, that's uh, that's what we're trying to achieve with our technology. Happy to see that it works, and we're able to add 20% of non-branded traffic on a huge
Yeah,
website. So
yeah.
happy to hear that. Um, all right, can you maybe share two best practices that helped you succeed in non-branded SEO traffic acquisition, and some learnings of things that did not work so well, because happens as well.
Okay. Well, one of of the best practices we discovered is focusing on a long tail strategy for specific events that are very relevant in the market today. We have like a Black Friday style event that's called Cyber Days, and we make we made a long tail keyword strategy specifically for that event, which brings like a lot of revenue. And it was and Google picked it up really quickly and indexed it, and we were able to do that in a very large amount of catalogs created by Verbolia very quickly. So creating strategies for certain events and then rolling back on those changes when the event is over has been like um, a very big like a learning opportunity and a best practice we've discovered. And also another good practice is learning that long tail keywords in the industry must be optimized in great volumes. Um, that is something that we could not do before, and we can do now, and it's made a significant change in our SEO strategy. And also learnings is that well, we haven't had the case of something not really working so far, but we can say that we have to stay on top of the game. Changes in Google happen very rapidly, and it's important to keep an eye uh, on our traffic statistics and conversion statistics in case a Google update could negatively impact us. And also, long tail keywords bring traffic with great conversion, and they must be a priority in a good SEO strategy for us. Because we already are competing with the top tail keywords, and we had an additional like traffic that we were not targeting before.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember with the team here, we have a customer success team that are discussing with you, and we discussed that strategy for Black Friday or
Yeah,
Cyber Day, which is
yeah.
next week, by the way, no, in Chile, I think.
Yes, yes,
Big,
it's next week.
big,
So
big event coming.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really cool because it's true you can really on demand create thousands and thousands of long tail pages with Cyber Day, iPhone
yes,
14, and this kind of
yes,
thing, and they get picked up very very quickly, and you can really do SEO in a campaign mode, let's say like a bit like SEA.
yes,
Cool,
yes.
good to hear that. Just looking at the time, yeah, we have time for one more question maybe, the classic one. Can you share an SEO trend you see coming for 2023?
Sure. Well, it's been on trend for a while, but I think it's going to be much more relevant in 2023, which is the mobile first strategy. Google now values like a lot um, of good mobile practices, and having a good site that performs well in mobile. And that is something specifically challenging for us because our site is so large and changes are done very slow because of the sheer volume of webs of pages we have to manage. Um, but I would say mobile first, and also voice search. Voice search has been something that's been growing rapidly through the years and probably will keep growing in 2023.
Yeah, there's a lot of things will happen just like every year in SEO
Yeah.
in 2023. Cool. Thanks a lot for all this. I think in the planning, Alicia is taking over, and we'll see each other a bit later.
Yes,
Oh,
Thanks a lot.
thank
thank you.
you. Thank you very much, Pierre Olivier. Thank you, Tonsi, in
Thank
particular,
you.
for those extremely valuable insights. We will see you in a second after our second panel of the day, where we will answer all the questions that have come from our audience. But before, of course, we have a second panel on conversion rate optimization with personalization. So indeed, before we start again, I would love to introduce our speakers. By the way, super excited to have such amazing speakers today, not only in panel one, but also in panel two. So indeed, I would love to welcome Adrian Goller and Anna Katarina Nar. Adrian Goller joined ETERNA Mode GmbH in 2019. He leads the performance marketing team and is responsible for the web and data analytics in the e-commerce department, tracking and tag management, as well as the strategic development of ETERNA online shop. This also includes the field of personalization, CRO, and A/B testing. Previously, he worked as an online marketeer and SEA manager for various agencies. Furthermore, Anna Katarina Knar is Chief Client Officer EMEA at Turbo. Since 2017, she has been responsible for customer care at the technology company that is specializing on dynamic on-site personalization, optimization, and testing. And again, before we kickstart our second panel of the day, I would love again to set the stage for our topic. So, Ana Katerina, I would love it if you could briefly give us some context on what conversion rate optimization with personalization consists of.
Of course. Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me. Happy to be here today. So basically, personalization is just showing the right content to the user at the right time. For example, in terms of, let's say, affinities, or where does this user stand in his customer journey right now. And it's very important because we spend a lot of money on traffic acquisition. I mean, we heard a little bit about that today already, like where to spend it and what it exactly does. But then we spend very little on actually converting that traffic on our websites. And this is what we're kind of trying to balance. And I think in the end goal, and Adrian probably will agree with me later on, our goal is to have the best conversation rates, the best conversation values, make as much money as we can, and also have very loyal customers that tend to always go to us for online shopping. And this is basically what you can achieve with on-site personalization.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Anna, for this context. And indeed, I believe that it's such a good combination, right? And such an important combination, not only the traffic acquisition, but also making sure that there's as much conversion as possible from this traffic. So yes, on this note, I would love to start the second panel on conversion rate with personalization. So Adrian and Anna Katarina, the floor is yours.
Perfect, thank you. I think, Adrian, it makes sense if we start a little bit with an introduction to ETERNA and what you guys exactly is your business. What are you doing?
Yes, of course. Hi, everybody. Yeah, ETERNA is a fashion retailer from Germany, and we are the digital, more sustainable heritage brand. We are highly specialized in shirts and blouses, especially in regards to the business sector. We have a really long tradition. We are actually 159 years old, and we're so super proud that we can celebrate our 160 years anniversary next year, which is super cool. And yeah, you can buy shirts from ETERNA and blouses on, I guess, over 3,000 point of sales across whole Europe. We're active in 40 countries, run our own online store, 55 retail stores, and I guess around about 11 franchise stores. Yeah, so check it out.
Perfect. And how did you become a part of the world of e-commerce and performance marketing?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. I started as a working student in an SEA agency, search engine advertising, here in Passau, where ETERNA is located. And yeah, there I totally fall in love with fashion e-commerce. Back at time, we were handling their accounts for really big fashion retailers like Zalando, ASOS, Foot Locker, and yeah, it was so nice to see when the data is running in. You're making small improvements, optimizations, and then you get immediate results if it worked out or not. So super nice, and definitely was sucked into the e-commerce world and still love it.
That's awesome. So then that's probably the perfect introduction for like the goals that ETERNA or that you have as an e-commerce analyst with ETERNA, and probably also with what we're talking about, performance marketing or on-site personalization.
Yeah, exactly. As an e-commerce analyst, I'm kind of the, I would say, interface between online performance marketing, web analytics, the BI team, and also our developers, tech guys. I guess once I refer to it as being a Sherlock Holmes of the e-commerce landscape of ETERNA. And it's in the end, it's all about collecting data, analyzing it, making sense out of it, setting up reportings, and giving advice to our e-commerce stakeholders. I guess to briefly sum it up, looking for ways, data-driven ways to improve and optimize all e-commerce activities for ETERNA.
Perfect. And I think I've already said it, but I'm very sure you agree that one of the main priorities would be to improve conversion rates or values. And then obviously my question would be, what's different elements that come into play for the conversion rate optimization strategy, and which of them are you taking into consideration or into action at ETERNA?
Yeah, super nice question. As you mentioned it, you always have to ask yourself, I guess, what's the purpose of your website is and why your website exists. And I guess in the case of ETERNA, it's pretty straightforward that we are a fashion retailer. We wanted to sell our shirts and blouses to as many customers as possible. And the result of this is to increase online sales and revenue at the end. And afterwards, you have to define certain metrics and measures around it to measure success and failure. That can be softer KPIs like bounce rate for your website, cart abandonment, but also pretty hard ones like revenue and, as you mentioned, conversion rate. And I guess for conversion rate optimization, it's first really important that you look at your conversion funnel on your website, and then doing kind of data digging, data analysis, and then look for certain pain points and discover opportunities where you can adjust it, and then being creative. How do you want to solve those pain points, and then test it in the end. And I guess the main elements, when we come back to the original question, for conversion rate optimization is, when you sum it up, there are, I guess, 4 different areas where you can optimize your conversion rate, and that's, from one angle, definitely conversion research, like all insights that you're gaining out of your web analytics tools, heat maps, session recordings. And the other area is kind of website persuasion, how you can influence or nudge people into certain behaviors. And there are usually elements out of social proof, group motivation, FOMO, I guess another buzzword, the scarcity, urgency, reciprocity, stuff like that. The third one, in my opinion, is definitely user experience, like how you can make the browsing and converting of customers more easier. And there you can also use kind of best practices for website navigation, forms, user flows, all around usability. And I guess without that focus on usability and user experience, your website can look like the best and being the perfect most, but it will work out when your user experience is not working or is bad. And the last big area is definitely personalization. I guess there's no size fits it all solution. Every customer is different, and when you personalize, you definitely get your customer to engage more and in the end convert more.
Exactly, and that's what we're always talking about, Adrian, but maybe you can give some examples of actual personalization elements that you have been implementing at ETERNA, and then also maybe what kind of value you've seen from them.
Yeah, I brought a slide with me, yeah, thanks, Alicia. That's a use case from ETERNA. It's an old one because a couple of months ago we were switching our shop system, and it was also in addition with a shop relaunch of our front end design. But it's a really nice case that you can see some of our personalization habits. And one thing was definitely on the top right, that you can provide user related content. That was a content block. It was a hero image that you can see for our cover shirts. And that was changing in regards to the browsing behavior of our users. And in the end, if it was a man or woman based on the last touch point of our website. And the other two approaches on our homepage here were product recommendations. There were one slider where we provided dynamic product recommendations based on also the browsing behavior, and another one with a straightforward thing you're seeing really often. That's the recently viewed products from the customer out of that session. Yes, and that all together, we're setting up a test. We created here multiple touch points where our users can interact with. And with that, we fostered the interaction of our users and forced them also to engage with our homepage. And what we really quickly see was that our users stayed longer on the site. So it was a higher average time on site, and we also see lower bounce rate, what was really nice. Yeah, when you turn to the when you can turn to the next page, Alicia. Yeah, that were kind of really soft KPIs we were monitoring, but you can also go a level higher to the harder ones, and we wanted to optimize conversation rate. That's all about it. What was really interesting about that case in the end was that when you were looking at different scenarios, where we put together multivariant tests between all the different approaches we were installing on the homepage, we see that there was a clear uplift in conversation rate and conversion value, which you can see on the right when you just playing out the recently viewed product slider. When you put together all personalization habits, what was here really funny was to see that the personalization topics worked out pretty well for our female customers, for women in general, but not at all for men. And that was kind of funny, and we were asking ourselves why that happened. And our explanation, and maybe we can discuss it afterwards if you have other opinions, was that women in general are more kind of window shoppers, so they're browsing across the shop and are more open to inspirational content and recommendations in general. Men not, and that could be because when you once buy a ETERNA shirt and you know your size and fit, every ETERNA shirt will fit you. And it doesn't matter which product it is, every ETERNA shirt will fit you. And when you just want to buy kind of a new white shirt, and you have that in mind, you can go to our shop, look for white shirts, you know your size, you know your fit, and then you can buy it. Yeah, so that was our explanation. Yeah, but it's really funny to see that personalization in that sense can be recognized in totally different ways across customer segments.
I remember when we first talked about this analysis when we were using it as an example, and I was also amazed by it. But also, it's great to see that you actually are looking into the data like that, because not a lot of our clients do in that depth, so that you can make the right decisions for any other tests or personalization methods that you're going to choose. And it's still one of my all-time favorite examples of like how should an entry look like for personalized content. So it's really great. Maybe you can also share some best practices or maybe your personal key learnings from personal experience when it comes to conversion rate optimization.
Yeah, of course. When you're looking at the results, it's obvious that it's important when you're doing conversion rate optimization that you need kind of a proper testing. That's really important. And yeah, customers and users, they are not generic at all. So you have to make sure to also test for different segments, as we see it in the results before. And it can be for gender, which is definitely a big topic, especially in fashion, that there are different habits between customers, but it can also vary between different entry channels, if they are coming from social media or search engines, And yeah, what else? Definitely another key learning was that you don't need to be a watering can. You have to focus. I guess it doesn't make sense that you try to optimize every step in your conversion funnel at once. So look at these steps in your conversion funnel that makes the most sense, and it can be, out of my opinion, the key entry pages that definitely make sense. In our case, that's or in many online stores, e-commerce pages, it's usually the homepage and product detail pages. So there you have nice features where you can optimize pretty quickly. and also all stuff relating the end of the conversion funnel, in the checkout process, call to action buttons. There you see usually a really quick uplift. Yeah, and one last thing I would say, don't make it harder than necessary, especially when you're new to A/B testing and not familiar with it. I guess it's enough when you try small improvements that in the end will also lead to a small but steady uplift in the conversation rate. You don't need to do fancy or complex multivariate tests from scratch. That does make sense. So stay focused. Yeah.
I mean, I always preach testing, so I'm on board with that, as you know. And we at Turbo, we basically providing the on-site personalization technology for everyone to put these measures on the websites. So how has that technology helped you in this process of implementing personalization content, and what value have you seen since you started introducing them?
I guess we started with Turbo, help me, Anna, I guess 3 years
I
ago.
would say around
2
2
years.
years. Yeah.
And I would say I'm a heavy user of it. I like the ease of use. When you get some training, it's nearly a self-serving tool. That's super nice that you have kind of a template library in place you can use. There are so many templates in there which covers nearly all on-site elements. When there are no templates in it, your personal success manager is always helpful, has great ideas how you can set up campaigns or set up certain tests. Yes, as I mentioned, there are all on-site elements in it you can use for testing and optimization, in-page elements, pop-ups, classic pop-ups, product sliders, gamification elements. Yeah, you can even run surveys. So it's great. You have the full stack there. As Anna said, there is a personalization feature also included in Turbo that uses dynamic segments. They're in place which group your customers already together based on their browsing behavior. And for me, because I'm kind of the data guy here, they're all testing tools in place so that you can run proper A/B and multivariate testing. And in the end, what I like most, because our developers are usually really business, have a lot of tickets to support, that's then when it's a self-serving platform, the time to market. Like when you have an idea, when you concept a campaign, you can bring it live really, really fast. And that's super cool to see.
Perfect. Thanks for the insights. And I think one question that I always get, or get a lot actually, I was just at Demexco, and that question came up a lot. And I think you have quite some traffic on the website, but probably also areas where it's a bit lower. Do you have any tactics or insights on what to do if there's a bit lower side of the traffic, or what could be numbers that show significance for testing?
That's a little bit hard to say, and it depends on the business sector you're running your online store in it. So from my perception, for a statistically significant result, you need around 5,000 visitors or 200 conversions. So 100 conversions per version. So that's our view. Yeah, and that can take time when you don't have that much conversions. What is also a good hint is there are some tools out there where you can actually calculate kind of the runtime of an A/B test with your conversion rate numbers and conversions that are coming in, so that you can get a feeling how long an A/B test might run. Yeah, when it's too long for you, just don't focus on the hard numbers. You can do different variation out of qualitative methods, and it can be like direct user feedback, so that you can ask a user when you put him in one bucket and show him one variant of your test. You can ask him for direct feedback, how you like that features. You can run surveys, put together some users for focus groups, and yeah, so there you can get a qualitative picture, but that's mostly kind of more qualitative as it's in the name than the basic numbers.
Okay. Thank you so much for your insights. That's it from my questions so far.
Thank you, Anna Katarina. Thank you, in particular, Adrian, for sharing your insights. Super, super valuable, I believe, for our audience to hear how you're tackling the issue of conversion rate optimization within ETERNA. And on that note, congrats for the 150th anniversary slash birthday of ETERNA. Super exciting. I look forward to the day that we have something similar for Verbolia 150th anniversary. I think we can do that. But I would love to welcome Pierre Olivier and Tansi back on the stage because we have a few questions from the audience that I would love to tackle. So yes, I believe this should be probably for Tansi. What is the advantage of creating pages for Reaply with Verbolia rather than doing it in any other way?
Well, it's basically speed and effectiveness. In Verbolia, we have about 30,000 pages created automatically with over 500,000 products. So it's a huge volume of products and pages that were created, and we managed to tackle with each page one long tail keyword. So it's if you do the math, which is not that hard, it's over 30,000 keywords and over 500,000 products. So it's a lot, and that's something that would have taken probably months to do manually. So it's basically it's fast and it's effective, and it ranks. The keywords are ranking, and we can see the ranking in the Verbolia panel. So it's very effective. And regarding time and the simplicity of the process, it's much more effective again.
Super. Thank you, Tonsi. Um, Another question there is, how long did it take you to see an impact on your conversion rate thanks to your personalization efforts with Turbo? What that should be with Adrian, I believe.
I guess so, yeah. It's a little tricky, and it depends on how many tests you are actually running, and also on the traffic on your site. So how fast you can get to results. But in our case, I guess we see the first results around about 6 to 8 weeks after starting with Turbo. What, in my opinion, is pretty good. And now we are kind of even more focused and knowing how to test, can set up tests on our own, so you can ramp up from there. But in general, I would say around about 6 to 8 weeks, yes, that you can start seeing actual results.
Super. Thank you, Adrian. There's another question from the audience that says, can any e-commerce site benefit from long-tail SEO, or is it only for certain types of sites? I would say that would be with Pierre Olivier and Tonsi.
Yeah, I can take this one. But long tail SEO, you need enough content to do it. So it works if you have enough products. So basically, if you have 100 products in your catalog, it doesn't really make sense to go for long tail, because you will have a few combinations of keywords, but you will not have really a lot. And you need a lot because each of them brings a few visits. So that's why it's a bit tricky. What we typically say to implement Verbolia, for example, a technology that really goes deep into the long tail, typically we say you need at least 3,000 products, because you need variety to be able to find these combinations of keywords. That's one thing. The other thing is, before going to long tail, you need to have a decent traffic on your top tail. You need to be good on some basic keywords so that after that you can catch all the traffic on the smaller keywords around them. So that's why typically we say that you need at least 100,000 SEO visits per month, non-branded. So 100,000 visits, yeah, non-branded per month. That's a decent amount of visits to say, okay, it's worth implementing a long tail SEO strategy, because your long tail SEO strategy will bring maybe 15 or 30% extra traffic. So it's always good. But if you only have 100 visits a month, you will get 15 or 30 visit extra. It's not a lot. So probably the investment is worth only after, yeah, let's say 100,000 visits a month and 3,000 keywords.
Makes sense. Thank
3,000
you.
products. Sorry.
Thanks, Pierre-Olivier. We have another question. Is conversion rate optimization through personalization something that every commerce site, regardless of industry or size, should or can start doing? Probably Anna Katarina, this is something
Yeah,
for you.
I can jump in here. I mean, I'd say yes, just because I think it's the key to being competitive on the market. There's not a lot of products, industries, or retailers that do not have a strong online competitive like landscape, let's say. And what makes the difference is obviously first you need to be found, right? Perfect acquisition. And then secondly, you need to make the experience on the website as fun, as good, as perfect, tailor-made for you, that the person will come back and actually buy something for us. And I always say, think about your previous online shopping experience. It's very generic, very defaulty, let's call it. And you will get back to that online shop if you are able to show the right content, and you will be able to gain the most value out of it if you're able to test and actually have hard data that provides you insights on what works and what doesn't. And in terms of industry, because I get this a lot, for example, from B2B or a little smaller clients, the more niche your product is, the lesser size of group we need to test. So that can also work, but it's just something that you probably need to find out and kind of get in the groove of it, start with a little more bigger tests, and then, you know, get into the details of it. That's what I would suggest doing.
Thanks a lot. And I believe we have a last question directed specifically to Adrian. Why do you work with Turbo instead of personalizing content on your own? What value do you see in using the technology?
So when Turbo pitched us back then, when we were looking for a personalization tool, we were comparing multiple tools, and I guess I know all the solutions kind of out there that are exist, and I guess we can also name it. It's A/B Tasty, Optimizely, whatever. In the end, Turbo showed us, I guess, from a most personal way, that their personalization habits are kind of the best, and there are many features in there that the others can't provide. So it's definitely worth looking into it. And the other side, why we are doing this not on our own, I guess it's just a matter of resources in here. When you want to provide it totally on your own, I guess you kind of nearly need an own developer just for that case, and ETERNA can't provide it at the moment. There we have to be honest. And when there are kind of tools out there that you can also self-serve, why not? And I guess it's kind of really familiar now working with Truro. It's easy to use, and yeah, in the end, it was weighing in all the factors together, and then Turbo was the best of them all.
Thank you, Adrian. We have another question that just came in. I believe that should be directed also to you. Do you experience differences of performance between devices on A/B tests? In that case, what would be your recommendations?
Definitely, yeah. That's a super interesting topic. You can run A/B tests for different customer groups, but you definitely have to run A/B tests also on different devices. one use case from our online store was kind of that in the checkout process, buttons wasn't that mobile friendly back at the time, and then we were running tests where we just make the buttons kind of bigger that you can easily or more easily can use and click them, and that was also a huge uplift factor there. And for our newly or for our shop relaunch back 2 months ago, we were just implementing that the right way. So yes, it's definitely makes sense to also take into account different devices and test for it properly. Yes.
I can maybe back that up a little from generally speaking, all of our clients. It's more often than not the case that desktop performance is good and mobile not, or the other way around. So definitely separate it when you're testing and also have your own mobile strategy, because we do have a lot of, let's say, personalization matters that are really just directed for mobile users. Like, for example, a buy button that is as an overlay on the website where you can put the product always in your basket, even if you scroll very, very low on the website, because you have maybe 3 or 4 recommendations, let's say. And yeah, definitely huge difference in performance on different devices.
Thanks for your insights, Anna and Adrian. And well, thank you for joining us today and for sharing all your information during today's webinar. If someone in the audience would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach out with you guys? I suppose that you can see for the audience, everyone can see here your websites, but I believe you're also very active on LinkedIn, so that's another good way to.
Definitely feel free to get in touch on LinkedIn for us.
Yeah, of course. Definitely feel free. Always happy to help and share some insights.
Fantastic. Thank you to our great speakers. Thank you to our audience. We will see each other on our next webinar. And feel free to scan these QR codes here. They will lead you to the websites of Vervolia, Turbo, Ripley, and ETERNA. And yes, have an amazing afternoon. And for you, Tansi, have an amazing day, because I know it's
Thank
still
you.
pretty early there in Chile.
Yeah, it's 12 o'clock.
All right. Thank you,
All
Alicia.
right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
See
much.
you.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.